All right, Dolphins get their win, 15-10. Now they're 2-3, second in the AFC East. I'm sorry. I want to say apologize for missing the live and stuff. I've been really under the weather. We had some power outages from storms that caused some fires and more power outages. So this Sunday, I really wanted to enjoy the Dolphins game and have it an easy podcast. And I guess in some ways, a victory makes it sort of easy. I do think that the victory is what it's all about. But for the evaluation, it kind of gets a little cloudy. There'll be, unfairly, hey, you're 2-3, second in the division. You bye a week, then you get the Colts, and you got Arizona, and then Tua should be back. Then maybe we can turn this thing around. Look at our run game today, and there's a lot of legitimate things to be positive about. I don't know if it affects the overall evaluation, but you got to be fair. I think McDaniel had a good game today. He rode the inside zone a lot more to run more than he has in the past. There was lots. I won't get to the negative, but I'll stay to the positive. So you got to be proud of that. He didn't go for it on every fourth down. He played the smart game. You understand there was going to be a close game, and those field goals came up big. It might even been an easier win if Sanders had notched that easy field goal. Huntley looked more comfortable. Jonnu was seeing more action. Achane was looking good until the concussion, which really sucks. Wright looked really good. Mostert really showed his salt. The defense held its ground and bailed us out again. And so there's a lot of stuff to say, hey, you know what? It's been a sucky year so far. We didn't expect to be 2-3 at this stage. Maybe 3-2 would be what, but if this 2-3 is a lot better than 1-4, and you get your bye week, and hey, things can happen. So I think you got to hold on to that. But in the larger eval, I think the context behind this does make it murky because it's very easy to sell hopium. And it's very hard to sell accurate evaluations. Just a little bit of hopium can go a long way. So while I'm happy with all these things, our running backs are fine. I mean, Achane's got an injury thing that's a concern. Mostert's older. That's a concern. Wright, though, I think is excellent. But the totality of our backs, I mean, if you put them behind the right offensive line, they're quality players. And you might say, well, we got almost 200 yards on the ground today. Maybe we just found our niche, and then McDaniel stuck with it. And I think that's true, but the context is that they were missing Duggar, they're missing Bentley. They had no offense. That we had 25 more snaps than them. They kind of gassed out. And McDaniel did everything right. There's nothing to knock McDaniel, but if you had a competent offense that you were going against and didn't commit so many ridiculous penalties, what I call the hot potato bowl, it wouldn't have kind of played out this way. You look at the offensive line, obviously they did some stuff. There were some bad things too. We'll get into that later in the week. But I don't think, this is a terrible, terrible, terrible team in the first year of their regime, and we're either, how you want to slice it from 2016 to 2019, we're either in the 6th or 9th year. And so we scrapped it out with one of the worst teams in the league. And fairly, they're a division opponent that were on the road. That's not easy, but this was a very sloppy and ugly game. And, our tight ends, I talk all the time about the offensive line, but if you've listened to me for a while, I said, I've been looking for tight ends for years. And I liked Hill's ability, but I thought he was sloppy, and it's showing week after week. Jonnu came up big in the pass game, and that's good. But Smythe, he can sometimes do things and sometimes not. But the tight end group is not a strength, and it's compounds some of the issues, as I've talked about with this offensive line. But, you got your win. But I don't know how we can feel super duper. Our special teams make lots of mistakes. We were extremely sloppy. And do you feel really, really comfortable with this team going forward against the better teams? I don't know that I can say I feel comfortable about them. I'm looking for my notes here. Sorry, my brain's been scrambled for the last couple of weeks. So our DL, the thing you have to understand is when you're weighing this out, our offensive line is not good. Some people might disagree. Okay. But they don't have a good offensive line. They're terrible. They were bringing like 6 offensive linemen for a while. And our defensive front is a mismatch. And so they struggled tremendously. And that balance of consistency rarely goes towards us as far as the unit matchups between ROL and their D and RD. Usually, our D might beat theirs, but ROL is not a blocking unit, even the secondary blockers. But this week, it was good. It was actually a little better than what you had with the Patriots. The Patriots are terrible in their blocking unit, terrible. And they might even actually have a worse offensive line than we do. And so that really helped us out a ton. The punts, the snaps sailing over heads, Eichenberg continually, some people like Brewer, some people think Eichenberg's all not that bad, and Jackson, but watch this game versus Power. They're driven back so many times. There's so many holding calls. I mean, you could see other guys, as far as posing offenses should get holding calls, but we have tons of them that haven't gotten called. And my fear is it's not that, we're getting a disproportionate amount. It's that the refs can always call those if they see it at that moment and really stick it to us. And Eichenberg holds all the time. Achane is so good, but this is just another injury. And as great as the pick was, availability is key in the NFL. I'm getting really, really concerned. Holland, he's missed a lot of tackles. He's not making plays. I don't know if he's pressing because he wants his money. But if he's looking for a big payout, I'm not sure he's going to get. I think still he did a good payout because someone might say, hey, in my unit, we can get him to be more what he used to be, but he's not playing well. Sanders had some hits, and then that missed one. I thought that sucked. And then obviously the blocks punt and all this other stuff. And you can't put it all on McDaniel. But this is really, really, really sloppy. And they had 12 penalties, I think, for 100 and something yards. And that really went a long way towards us being having our victory. And so a lot of our sloppiness was hid by their uber sloppiness. I mean, really some poor plays. I guess you had 34 minutes to 25 minutes. Turnovers, we had more turnovers than they did. Penalties, 6 for 54, 12 though for 110 is terrible. We did end up with a great day rushing. They were able to get the ball running the football pretty well. I think our defense came up very nice. I think there's some good plays there, but Chop kind of disappeared a lot. We could really use the return of Chubb. When is that going to be? And it's not even for his pass rush, it's for the run stop. As you get into these other teams, I think that Arizona is not an easy team to knock out. Colts won't be in their house. I thought they might be. It's not going to be like this. They may have Richardson back. They have a good offensive line. They can give us some struggles. Clearly, if you're looking at on the road versus the Bills, I mean, they're not playing great. And I got to check out to see why. But that's not going to be an easy one to win on the road. And then we're going to start getting into the difficult portion of our schedule. And my greatest concern is the evaluation of Stephen Ross. Stephen Ross only needs like this much hope to keep Greer and co here. And some people are like, we've had too much turnover. We got to stick with what we've got and be consistent and not keep flipping over regimes. But Marvin Lewis did it for how long? And it was a wrong regime. It's not about consistency of something wrong. It's consistency in something that's right. And McDaniel and Greer and the philosophies that we built as the core of this team are not right. Weaver seems good enough, decent. We'll see how he does against the better teams. But all we need is a little – I mean, I'm worried if we get to 6 wins or 7 wins – and maybe we just, we're 7-10, or 6-11. It might even be enough to keep Chris Greer. And I don't want my Dolphins to lose. I hate seeing them lose. But what I almost hate to see even more is to see Chris Greer back and get off the hook. This is not the right build, guys. You cannot be in with all these picks in this point in time, this situation that you're in, and you lose your starting quarterback and you fold like a cheap lawn chair. There's plenty of teams out there that are shorter in the build with far less ammo that are doing well with quarterbacks that are not considered premier quarterbacks. And something, whatever you might want to say, you could say the offensive line, you could say the philosophy, you could say the code, whatever you want to add into it, they're doing it. I mean, look at the Vikings. This is not to say Flores should have stayed here or any of that stuff, because that's like a conversation. It's not going to be worth. It's not worth anything. But look what they're doing with Darnold. And I was watching the game this morning, and they said they built their whole offensive line. They're like the only team to really do that, the entire offensive line through the draft. But there's a lot more to that than that. Who knows how it's ultimately going to end? But they're flying way, way, way higher, shorter in the build, and with Darnold. And there's no reason that we're doing what we're doing is sloppy. I mean, we beat one of the worst teams in the league. We lost to the Titans, which are terrible. We lost to Seattle, which is wounded. All three of these teams were wounded that we played. I just mentioned they were wounded, and we lost to them pretty soundly. We were destroyed to the Bills, and they're pretty gutted, and they're not as good as as they've been in the past. They're still trying to find their way, and we squeaked by the Jacksonville Jaguars. At the end, and they're not so good either, although they had a really good game today. So my point being is that it's a real quandary when you want to cover this team. It puts my stomach in knots. I love to win, but then how do you say, well, win it might not be indicative of the win. And so I guess I'll leave that for you to decide. I'm happy for the win. Clearly saw some good things within that, but I don't think that's enough to alleviate all these concerns. Our special teams are terrible week in and week out. How's that not addressed? Obviously, there's offensive line issues in my evaluation. McDaniel can keep this team focused against sloppy teams in desperation, and despite some of the nice movements today, that's highly concerning. And then some key pieces that we picked up, they're injured, and they're going to be missing in the most critical portion, or it could be, concern for them to go out again. I don't think this team has the ammo to do what it needs to do, what it should be doing at this stage. I hope I'm wrong. I hope somehow this team pulls it all together. And I say, I am sorry, I can give the ultimate mea culpa. But this was a hot potato bowl. It was really about who wanted it the least. And I don't understand. I mean, I'm glad it's a thing, but if you're going back outside the end zone, you put your toe down. I mean, tapping touchdown, like that doesn't count. We would have lost because of that. So it was so close to another loss. We really could have, just a little bit either way, been 0-5. And so that is my huge concern. I hope people are happy. They should be happy. We get the bye week. And then we have a huge portion coming up. Let's see how it plays out. I am not high on our going forward, but let's see how it plays out. But I want to hear from the people that think that there's positive signs. I mean, honestly, don't just say we suck. It doesn't really help. We're trying to evaluate fairly. And give me your reasons why you think we're not doing good, or why you think we're on our way. And let's have a discussion. It's the way I learn this game. It's the way I get better in my coverage, get better in my estimations. I just think we're in a really bad state. Although, as a Dolphin fan, I'm always hoping I'm wrong. So anyway, guys, I'll get better coverage to you. My brain's still scrambled. It was a real rough couple of days with all this stuff in the health. So I do apologize for my lack of consistency. I didn't even get a matchup between the Patriots and the Dolphins, but man, I was down in the dumps, man. I couldn't even get out of bed. I was like out for like 27 hours at one point, where I just like woke up a couple times to eat. And we didn't have any AC, which was a nightmare because there's no electric, and then there was fires and stuff. So I do apologize. I haven't got back to the comments. It's going to take me a couple of days to get back. I'm not even sure if I'm going to do the live this week because I'm still really in bad shape, depending on how quick Old Man Curtis bounces back. So guys, I appreciate everything you do. I really do. I thank you for sticking by me all these years. And Curtis saying, be well, go Phins. Curtis out. Start building your own online sportsbook today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.